Hey guys, so today I'm actually turning 29. Today is my birthday, so happy birthday to me. In this video, I wanted to build a simple little fun JavaScript program to kind of celebrate the fact that I turned 29 today. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I built a little firework that goes up and explodes with particle effects using only JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. So if this is something that you find interesting and you want more of to kind of improve your programming abilities, if you're looking to become a web developer or just a software engineer, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Click that subscribe button and also the bell icon right next to it to get more notifications and information like this in the future. So without further delay, let's just go ahead and dive into the code. So I have a folder called fireworks right here, and inside of this I have a simple icon that we're going to be using for our firework that we're going to shoot up. To get started with this project, I need to first build an index file. So I'm going to be doing that. I can type the exclamation mark in VS Code, hit enter, and that will auto-generate me a bunch of different stuff. So I'm going to say fireworks is the title of this page. And in my terminal down here, I have HTTP-server running on my folder. So if I go and just refresh this page, we can see that we have a page that loads. And just to verify that, I could say hello world here, save this, refresh my browser, and see that we get hello world. So that's awesome. We got a index file loaded, ready to go. The first thing I want to do is I want to import some script. So in VS Code, if I say script down here and say source, I could say ./index.js, which we haven't created yet. So bear with us. I'll just create that right now, index.js. And inside the index.js, we're going to be doing all the logic for making the fireworks spawn, making it shoot up, making it go in an angle and a velocity. And the second thing I want to do is just set up my CSS. So I'm going to say link :CSS, hit enter, and I could import my style.css sheet here, which we haven't created yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and create that. Okay, so we have our files ready to go. Let's try to code this and let's verify that this is all working correctly. So inside our JavaScript, we should be able to print out hello world. Load up my terminal down here so we can actually have some insight as to what's going on. And we print out hello world now. So we are ready to go with coding out our project. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to abstract all the firework logic behind a class called firework. So let's make a class called firework. And that is going to have a constructor, which is going to do a couple of different things. The first thing it's going to do is just spawn a firework at the bottom of our page. So this .x could be in the middle of our page, actually. So I'll say window.inner width. This .y is equal to window.inner height. I'll just say -10, so it goes up just a little bit. And inner width divided by 2, so it spawns in the very center of our window. And another thing I'm going to do is when you construct a firework, we want to create a DOM element and put it on the page so that we can actually like visualize what the firework is. So in here, I could say this.el is equal to document.createElement. I'll pass it a div. And then I'm just going to apply a class to this. So .l.className is equal to firework. And then I want to append this to my body. So I'm going to say document.body .append child this.l. So now when I create the firework, it's going to put it at a particular location, create a DOM element, and put it on the page. And the last thing we need to do is, if you know anything about CSS, in order to position the firework, you're going to have to probably set a left and a top value, which we'll do in 1 second. But before we get into that, let us go here and just make a new firework. So if I make a new firework, save this file, and go back to my web browser, we should be able to inspect the elements and see that we have a firework div, which we do. Now that we have a firework div being created, let's do a firework style or class here. So what we're going to do is add a position fix so that we can easily position it on the window. And I'm going to simply set the background URL or image to that image that we have over here, which is star.png. Now at this point, if I refresh the page, it's not showing up because we did not set a width and a height. So I'm going to say width is 15 pixels, height is 15 pixels, background, what is it? Background size? I think it's cover. And let's see if this helps it show up. Okay, so now we have it showing up here. And again, in CSS, if you want to reposition the firework, you need to set a left So if I say left 100 pixels, top 100 pixels, that'll make it go more to the center of the screen. And we're going to be changing that CSS value as our firework is shooting up. So at this point, we don't really need left or top right now, but inside of our index file, what we could do is set those styles. So this.l.styles.top is equal to, and I can say this.x, or sorry, this.y, and this.l.style.left is equal to this.x plus pixels. I think adding the pixels at the end is important. I think it's just style here. Let me just make sure this is correct. Okay, so if you notice down here, it's kind of small. There's a green little firework here. Last thing I'm going to do is I want the body to be probably a darker color. I'll make that black. Okay, so now we have the firework down here. We have the background as black. Now let's move on to the next step, which is basically how do we make the firework shoot up at a certain angle? Well, one approach, what you can do is you could just generate a random angle. So I'm going to say this.angle is equal to, and we'll do a little bit of random math here. So say math.random times the angle that we want the range to be. And I'm going to say math.pi divided by 2. So that is our random angle. And then up here, we want to just add math.pi divided by 4. If you know anything about pi, is basically 0 would be over here. Pi over 2 would be here. Pi would be this. So we want to range between 0 and pi over 2. And we want to kind of shift it or rotate it so that it's shooting up between like a certain angle, right? So that is what this line is doing, assuming I wrote it correctly. And we also want to apply some velocity in that direction, which we can do, which is saying this.vx is equal to math of cosine angle. And this.vy is equal to math.sine of angle. And it would be nice if we had this thing going at a certain speed. So I'm going to say speed of 5. And I can just times it by speed here. So at this point, we have a random angle, a random speed that it fires towards. And in order for this to actually work, we need to have some way to kind of update this firework, right? So every so often, we need to make sure we're updating the firework and moving it in the direction that we told it to go. And I think actually this needs to be negative because positive direction is kind of swapped in your browser. I'll make a negative here. But like I was saying, we need to update this. And every update, it needs to actually move in that velocity x and velocity y direction. So I'm going to go ahead and add an update method here. And inside of this update method, what we can do is just say this.x is equal to, or plus equals to vx, and this.y plus equals to this.vy. So that will slowly increment it by a certain amount every time we call update. Now, let's just make this into a constant we can call. And what we need to do is set an interval so that every, let's say, 20 milliseconds, the firework updates. So now I should be able to run this and the firework should move. Just kidding. The app will crash because that's what happens. All right, so it's saying angle is not defined, and that is because I forgot to say this.angle. So let's try it again, see what happens. And it is not moving for some reason. So I'm going to add a debugger here and just see why this is not moving. Vx is set, Vy is set, x is 0, y is 0. Okay, so I totally forgot that once I update the x and y, we need to also update this left and right because it won't actually update in terms of styles. So let's just add that and we should see that the firework moves. You see how it's shooting up now? It's a little laggy, so maybe we should actually make this 10 seconds here. That made it go a little bit better. So the second thing we want to do is we actually want to spawn a lot of fireworks and have them keep spawning on the page. So we can do another set interval and we could say every, let's say 300 milliseconds. We just want to make a new firework. So I'm going to say const firework is equal to new firework. And we need to push it into some type of collection so that we can update all of these fireworks one by one. So I'm going to say fireworks.push firework. I haven't actually created that collection yet. So up here, let's just change this to a collection of fireworks. And this is actually going to change from just doing a firework.update to fireworks.forEach firework.update. So again, recap, we made a collection of fireworks or an array of fireworks. Every 300 milliseconds, we create a new firework and push it into that array. And every 10 milliseconds, we just update that fireworks. So if I refresh the page, notice that it should be shooting off new fireworks every 300 milliseconds. And if I let this go for too long, it's probably going to slow down my computer because it's not actually cleaning these up. So let's try to work on that. Second thing we want to do is clean, like I said, clean up those fireworks. So I'm going to add an interval or a timeout. So after we create the firework, we want to destroy it. So I can say set timeout. And after, let's just say 800 milliseconds, we can say this.l.remove. And then we also want to remove it from that fireworks array. So let's just move this up to the top. And we can just say the fireworks.splice. And then we could say fireworks.index of this. And we need to remove it there. So this is how you remove stuff from a collection. Basically, you say delete the entry at index of 1, 10, 50, whatever, and then remove 1. That's the length of how many you want to remove at that index. So now if I were to run this, we should see that the fireworks just disappear after 800 milliseconds. All right, so we're making some progress. The next step I want to achieve is I want to add some gravity to the fireworks so that they go up, and then as they're coming down, they explode. So adding gravity can be achieved inside of this update method. All I need to do is just slowly make the y direction become negative or positive. Negative is up, positive is down. So here I could just say this.vy plus equals 0.1. And that should slow it down. You see how they're getting slowed down? And in fact, I probably slowed them down too much. Let's do half of that. Again, that was probably too much. Let's do half of that again. Cool. That's probably good. I want the speed to be a little bit higher. And I'm going to play around with these until it looks pretty good. So the speed's 10. I can go back up to 5 and see what happens. That's too little. Hang with me. We'll get to something that is pretty good. 15 is probably good. I think that looks pretty nice. Goes up, comes down a little bit, and then it blows up. So the next step is we want to make particles for when these fireworks explode. So what would be a good approach is basically we're going to have an explode method here when we do this. So I'll say this.explode, and that will make the firework explode. So what this needs to do is it needs to create a new class called particle, push it into a particles list, and then we basically need to update all those particles and draw them like we did with the firework. So to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to say const particles is equal to that, particles. And then inside the explode method, we want to just create a bunch of particles, and then we want to push them. So particles.push particle. I'm just going to pretend we have a particle class. So I can say const particle is equal to new particle. And we want to make sure we set that x and y direction of the particle to be at where that firework was. So I can say particle.set x and pass that this.x. I could also set the y. I'll just call it set position, this.y. And we can push it in here. So at this point, we don't actually have a particles class. So it would be nice if we added one. And we're just going to copy the fireworks class because they're very similar. They both need to die after a certain amount of time. They both need to go in a random direction. But in this case, we just want a random circular direction. So the angle can be math of random times pi. Let's reduce the speed a little bit. X and Y, just set that equal to 0, 0, because we're going to override it when we're spawning these particles. Velocity, same idea. We just move it in the velocity. Instead of creating a class of firework, we can say particle. And this should be all good. Pin it to the body. Everything's all good. So if you remember, we created a class called SetPosition, which takes an X and a Y. So we need to make sure we create that here, which basically just sets the this.x to x, this.y to y, and also updates those styles so that we can actually reposition it on the screen. Second thing we did here is we added a particle class. So let's just do a copy paste of firework and add particle in. And instead of a URL for the body image, I'm just going to say background color is equal to red, and the width and the height, let's make it 3 pixels, right? Don't need a background size. So let's see what happens. Firework has already been declared. I totally forgot to rename this to particle. Let me just do a really quick glance to make sure I did not mess anything up. So this is particles. We need to remove the particle after a certain amount of time. And we don't need to call explode on that. When do we remove this? Probably after 300 milliseconds, we should remove the particle. Yeah, so I think that is all we need to do, except for we also need to update all of our particles here. So I'm going to say particles for each particle.update. And what is this doing? This is spawning our fireworks. So let's see what other bugs we might have. Cool. So we have particle update is not a function. We're getting an error. And the error is we totally forgot to add a update function to particle. So let's go ahead and add one here and just copy from firework. And the only difference is we don't need to slow down. There's no, well, I guess we could just have some gravity too. We could add some gravity, see what happens. Now, a little shortcut to this, I could just say, I could drive this code up. I have kind of the same logic in different places, but you know what, let's just do it. SetPosition, let's do proper code. This.vx plus this.x and this.vy plus this.y. So now we don't need to duplicate this code anywhere. So let's see what happens when we do this. So you see that the firework explodes. It shoots a particle off in a random direction. All we need to do now is just spawn a bunch of random particles, what we call explode. So inside the firework update, actually inside the firework explode method, instead of just creating one particle, let's create like, I don't know, 50. And see if it crashes my computer, because my computer is slow as heck. So make a bunch of particles, push them into that particles list. And the only difference is the angle is going to be random every single time. So if I refresh this, we should see that it totally crashed my web browser, because I did not say while I is less than 50. Bear with me. I'm trying to do some speed coding. I don't want to spend all day doing this on my birthday, you know? Uh-oh. Let I equal 0, I less than 50, I plus plus. So that should create, let's just do 10 particles. I don't know. Maybe that's causing some type of issues over here. Got too many browser windows open. Close them all. All right, let's try this again. Please work. I don't want to debug stuff. I'm too lazy. Nice. Just close this. I don't think we need this up anymore. So now they go up and they explode in a random direction. Now the only difference is let's do more particles. Let's do like 50 and see what happens. You know, I think it's caching my page, so I do need to keep my terminal open. Let me just minimize it down here and refresh again. So I think it's shooting only in the top arc direction. So let's just go here and remove that. I think it needs to be times 2. 2 pi is an entire circle. So let's refresh it and see what happens. Okay, so we're making some progress. I do think we need to make the speed random. So I'm going to say math.random of times 1 plus 3. I'll do times 2 plus 3 and see what happens here. So now they shoot off in random directions. So we're pretty much done. I mean, I just want to change up the colors a little bit. So one thing you could do is as we spawn particles, we could have a colors array of different colors. So red, yellow, orange, I don't know, pink. Do cyan. We could do green. I think that's enough colors. And what we want to do is just basically set the style of this to the color that we pick over here. So we can say this.l.style.color or background color is equal to colors, and then we want to get a random color here. So I'm just going to do math.random times the lengths of the colors here. And let's see, make sure that's in a parsant, save that. And yeah, that should hopefully explode with some different colors. You can see it's kind of laggy on my computer because I'm doing the screen recording. I got all these terminals things open. So, I mean, it's not going to be this slow if you were to clone this code and run it, but we basically did it. And the last thing I want to do is just add go here to me, add that. Happy birthday to me. Maybe I'll style it some, make it white, font size, 50 pixels, text align is center. Let's see, happy birthday to me. There you have it, and that is the cool little project that I built on my birthday. Didn't want to spend too much time doing anything because I'd rather be hanging out with my family and my kid on my birthday. But that is the super quick way to build some particles and some fireworks in HTML. If you like this video and you have requests for building other small projects like this, be sure to leave me a comment. Give me your suggestions as to what I should build. I really enjoy doing like small little cute things like this. But yeah, otherwise, be sure to subscribe, click that subscribe button and the bell icon, and give me a like if you thought this video was fun and entertaining and educational. Again, I'm Cody Seibert, and thank you so much for watching, and happy coding.